Hi there, welcome back to my kitchen. Today I'm sharing a very simple and delicious recipe, a classic sweet potato pie. We will start by making the crust from scratch, followed by a creamy, flavorful filling. So let's get started. First, let's make the crust from scratch using a food processor. Add 1.5 cups of flour, 1 teaspoon of sugar, half a teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, and 8 tablespoons of cold diced butter. Pulse the mixture a few times until it looks like coarse crumbs. Next, add 1 tablespoon of vodka and 3 tablespoons of cold water to start. Pulse the mixture a few times and check the consistency. The dough should still look crumbly, but when you press it between your fingers, it should hold its shape. If needed, add 1 more tablespoon of cold water. Once the dough is ready, take it out, form it into a ball. Wrap it in a plastic wrap and let it chill in the fridge while we prepare the filling. Let's move on to the filling. Start with 2 pounds of whole sweet potatoes. You can bake or boil them until they are tender, but I recommend baking them to keep the moisture just right. To bake, take your sweet potatoes, poke a few holes in them with a fork, and place them on a baking sheet. Bake them in a preheated oven at 400 degrees Fahrenheit for about 45 to 60 minutes, or until they are soft and cooked through. Once they are done, let the sweet potatoes cool slightly, then peel off the skin and mash them until smooth. Now that sweet potatoes are mashed and ready, let's bring all the flavors together. In a large mixing bowl, combine your mashed sweet potatoes with 100 grams of granulated sugar, 50 grams of brown sugar, and 1 cup of evaporated milk. Add 1 tablespoon of vanilla extract and mix well. Next, add 2 large eggs and mix again until everything is well combined. Now it's time for the spices. Add 1 teaspoon each of ground ginger and cinnamon, a quarter teaspoon of nutmeg, and a pinch of ground cloves to tie all the flavors together. Finally, add the zest of 1 orange for a fresh citrusy twist. Mix everything thoroughly until the filling is smooth and creamy. To make sure the filling is extra creamy, transfer everything into a food processor. Blend until the mixture is perfectly smooth, ensuring there are no lumps left. This step makes all the difference in achieving that silky, luxurious texture for your sweet potato pie. Now that both the crust and filling are ready, it's time to assemble the pie. Take your chilled dough out of the fridge and roll it out on a well-floured surface until it's large enough to fit a 9-inch pie dish. Carefully transfer the dough to the dish, pressing it gently into the edges. Trim off any excess dough, then fold the edges under themselves to create a neat finish. Now let's crimp the edges. Place your pointer and middle fingers on one hand on the outside of the crust and use the knuckle or fingertip of your other hand to gently press the dough from the inside. This creates a nice uniform ridge. Now that the crust is crimped and ready, take a fork and gently poke a few holes across the bottom of the crust. This helps prevent air bubbles from forming while baking. Let the crust rest in the fridge for 10 minutes to set. Meanwhile, preheat your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Once the crust has chilled and the oven is preheated, take the crust out of the fridge. Line it with a piece of parchment paper and fill it with pie weights, dry beans or rice. This will keep the crust from puffing up as it bakes. Place the crust in the oven and bake for 10 to 15 minutes or until the edges begin to set and turn slightly golden. Then remove the pie crust from the oven and carefully take out the parchment paper and pie weights. Let the crust cool completely before pouring in the filling. Once the crust has cooled, pour the creamy sweet potato filling into the crust and smooth it out with a spatula to ensure an even surface. Before baking, brush the edges of the crust with a little beaten egg. Place the pie in the preheated oven at 350 degrees Fahrenheit and bake for 50 to 60 minutes. If you notice the edges are becoming too dark, carefully cover them with foil to prevent burning. You will know the pie is done when the center has a slight jiggle but no longer looks wet. Once the pie is done baking, remove it from the oven and let it cool. You can leave it at room temperature or chill it in the fridge until you're ready to serve. And that's it. Enjoy your homemade sweet potato pie, and I'll see you next time. Happy baking!